What's going on, guys? George here, Catholic Positive Energy. Nice to see everybody here. I'm sorry I'm coming a little later than I normally do. I had some things that I had to do today. I had to go to the grocery store and I just ate lunch, so now here I am. Once again, I want to thank everybody for the birthday wishes. December 12, I turned 34. Let me know if you think that I look younger than that or older than that. I hope you all like my mustache the way it looks now. It's been 95 days. So in 1 week from today, I'll be at 102. The longest I've gone without shaving was 101 days. So now I'm going to break that record in a week. I see I have a friend watching here on the Facebook page. Hello, Karen. Nice to see you. Yeah. Hopefully one day I hope to have a huge following. Here's some wonderful updates I want to talk. Oh, you like me better clean shaven, I see. All right. I appreciate that. Thanks. Want to try new things. I never had facial hair before, so I want to experience something new. Here's some wonderful updates I want to update everybody with. Now on the Facebook group, we have 203 members. I was so happy when we reached 200. I'm glad to see that we're growing. I have a wonderful, funny story that I want to tell everybody here. You're going to love this. When I first started this page and this group, when I first started this community, Catholic Positive Energy, that was on January 15th, 2020. It was almost a year ago now. Here was what happened. I knew that I wanted to start something where Catholics and non-Catholics could talk about our Catholic faith and also have positive energy at the same time. I knew that I wanted to make something like that. I manage a group for a very dear friend of mine. It's called Your Joyful Place. I'm a moderator there, and my friend only allows general God quotes there. Pretty much all the quotes have to have something to do with being joyful and with positive energy, otherwise they're not approved. So I wanted to create something where we could have both. We could talk about God as much as we like and have positive energy. So when I was doing that, when I was making the Facebook page on January 15th, 2020, I was actually half asleep. Yeah, see, I'm glad I made it. But when I was making it and I was on my phone, I was half asleep. See, I have insomnia. I take sleeping medication. And I'd already taken it, and I was kind of half asleep. I was like this, on my phone. I was like this, half asleep. I remember that. And I thought I was dreaming. I thought I was dreaming when I was making this community. So I remember I did that, and I fell asleep right after that. I'm making the Facebook page, Catholic Positive Energy, and then I go to sleep, and then I wake up eventually, and the phone is in my lap. See, I never put the phone on my lap when I'm about to go to sleep. So when I woke up, I was like, what? Something's wrong here. Why didn't I turn the phone off? I don't understand. Oh, I made the group? Oh man, I actually did it. I thought I was dreaming. Laugh too hard. Yeah, I thought I was dreaming. So I'm glad that I made all of this. I'm very happy. Yeah, can you believe it? This all started when I was half asleep and I'm making the Catholic Positive Energy Facebook page. But now here we are. Got over 200 people who like the page, 203 people in the Facebook group, and I've got 11 followers on the YouTube channel. So please, I want to emphasize again, we have a YouTube channel also. Please check us out there. So just wanted to share that funny story with all of you. I hope you're doing very well, and I hope my friend Karen's doing well. I know she's watching me right now. So I hope all of you are even though this has been a very rough year, I will admit, without saying anything negative, this has not been the best year ever. It has not, because of everything that's been going on. I won't mention it. I don't like to say it, because I like positive things. This has been a rough year, but I certainly hope that all of you who are watching this, all of you out there, are still going to enjoy the Christmas holiday for those of you who celebrate Christmas. And I hope you'll still be able to stay safe, stay positive, and still stay happy, even though things have not been at its best as of late. So, the name of this broadcast, see, now that I'm on break from school, it's been a while since I was able to prepare a topic. I got one here. The name of this broadcast is 5 Ways to Deal with Verbal Abuse. I got this from the Power of Positivity Facebook page. I'll paste the link into the comments section here on the Facebook Live, and I'll try to also put it on the YouTube video in the notes. Here's 5 ways to deal with verbal abuse. Now, I grew up on the receiving end of a lot of verbal abuse in my life. I truly have. And sometimes, from time to time, I'm still on the receiving end. Not as much now as when I was a kid. Let me ask all of you, is there anybody out there, or even my friend who's watching right now, is there anybody out there who has been the victim of a lot of verbal abuse as a kid? If you had family members or loved ones shouting at you, especially in front of other people, humiliating you, they got mad and they lashed out at you, and they didn't care if there were other people there who saw and heard everything that was being said to you. Have you been on the receiving end of that? Yeah, I certainly have a lot. It's not fun. It rips you apart. It brings about a lot of emotional scars that stay with you for the rest of your life, and they're just hurting you in your heart, in your mind. Yeah, my friend has. Yeah, I've been on the receiving end of a lot of that. And I think pretty much everyone else is. Got another friend here. Norberto, nice to see you. So here's 5 ways to detect verbal abuse. Number 1 is to learn how to detect verbal abuse. I'll read over this article. Many victims of abuse find themselves second-guessing the occurrence of abuse. They may feel unsure if something they're experiencing truly is abuse or if they're sensitive. That's why learning to detect critical features of verbal abuse is so important. Here are some kinds of abuse to look out for. Name calling. Anybody know what it's like to be called names but by people who are supposed to love you? It doesn't bother me if a stranger or someone I barely know is calling me names. I can just let that go. I don't know this person. They're not one of my family members. I'll just let that go. But when someone you love, or someone who loves you, or at least is supposed to, is calling you names, how does that make you feel? What does that make you want to do next? Does that make you want to call them names right back? Something to think about. Also, to detect sudden outbursts of anger. These outbursts are often extreme, involving yelling, shouting, and threatening body language. Although they don't escalate to physical violence, they can still be very frightening, and verbal violence is a serious abuse too, like I was saying before. Verbal violence, I'll start saying that just right here. Verbal violence. That's really torn me apart. I remember when I was growing up, I thought it was okay to, call someone names when you're angry with them, because that's what happened a lot around me in my home. Wow, I've got 3 people watching. This is so wonderful. Hello, LV. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your middle name and your last name, so I'll just say LV. It's nice to see you here. Yeah, I thought it was normal to call people names. I remember when I was in school, and whenever I had a classmate who wasn't very nice to me, I called them names, and then they would be shouting at me because they didn't like that, and they would, punch me in the arm because they didn't like that. And I thought to myself, why are they hitting me? I called them a name. Why can't they just let it go and leave me alone? I learned the hard way. Normally, if you're calling somebody names, wherever it is you may be, that's a very good way to get somebody to want to hurt you physically. Name calling, you're just asking for trouble. You know, if you call somebody names, even if they do deserve it, here, I'm not going to say it, but I mean, you may have heard this saying or seen this printed on t-shirts. If you, I'm just going to say the second part of it. I'm not going to say the first. That's a good way to get hit. Call names, get hit. You know, it's very unnecessary to call people names. Totally unnecessary. And definitely, please, don't call your family members names. If you have children and they make you angry, they make you so irritated because they don't want to listen to you, please don't call them names. Don't do that. If you were called names as a child by your parents, please don't continue that cycle. It's just not right. Don't continue that cycle. Like to build up some positive energy. I like to say this. Obviously, what would Jesus do? Or what would Mr. Rogers do? What do you think I would do? I would certainly not call a child names, especially if it were mine. Here's another thing. Invalidating separateness. In a relationship, you retain your identity, including your emotions, beliefs, thoughts, and opinions, says Patricia Evans, a consultant, speaker, author, and expert on verbal abuse. A verbal abuser may respond negatively to these forms of your separateness, failing to see their positive sides instead of taking them as an irritant or an attack on them. Here, gaslighting. Probably thinking, what? Gaslighting, I guess this is another term used by Evans. A verbal abuser may try to make you question your perception of the world by warping reality to fit their narrative. Oh, yeah. I've been through this a lot. If you're on the receiving end of verbal abuse, then the verbal abuser is trying to make you question your perception of the world. Warping your reality. This happened to me a lot as a kid. Like I said, I can't tell you, I don't like bickering with people. I really don't. I don't mind if I'm having a productive, mature, civilized conversation with someone who doesn't agree with me on certain things like religion or politics. I don't mind if I meet someone who disagrees with me, as long as the conversation is still civilized, productive. We're not calling each other names. We're not yelling back and forth. That's perfectly fine with me. But one thing I don't like is bickering. I hate bickering. I really don't like it. I went through it so much as a kid. Every time I came home from school, I felt like I was getting out of a terrible nightmare. You know? Why can't people just be a little nicer? You know, can't we all just get along, you know? I know it's hard. But when you're on the receiving end of verbal abuse, or if you ever meet someone, a very young person who is on the receiving end of verbal abuse, make sure that their reality is not warped. Because what happens is when a young child is on the receiving end of verbal abuse, you know, the shouting and all that other trauma, they're going to think that it's okay. They're going to think that's how you're supposed to behave. They're going to continue the cycle. And that's why we need to step up and we need to end that cycle. We need to make them feel that this world, they need to know healthy, civilized behavior. That's not it. They may be unpredictable or present situations to you in such a way that suggests you are crazy, overly sensitive, or misremembering real-life events. This can cause you a lot of confusion and psychological pain, says Evans. Many forms of verbal abuse aren't easily categorizable. I've never said that word before. Categorizable. If you find yourself questioning someone is verbally abusive, you might be in trouble. Brogard Lab for Multisensory Research Director and Professor Barrett Brogard, Dr. Barrett Brogard, suggests carefully examining your relationship if you aren't sure if you're experiencing verbal abuse. Types of verbal abuse you should also look out for that are commonly overlooked according to studies are, here's some names. There are forms of verbal abuse that are categorized to have names. Arguing or countering anything and everything, blame games and accusations, criticism in excess or that crosses into judgment. I want to ask, hopefully my viewers are still here watching. What is the one thing I always say right before I sign off on all my broadcasts? What's my catchphrase? See, I just read this. A form of verbal abuse, criticism in excess or that crosses into judgment. The one thing I always say, dignification is better than criticism. See, criticism, excessive criticism, that's a form of verbal abuse. I experienced that for 30 years. Diverging or blocking topics of discussion, insults, especially ones you've already expressed disliking. Boy, I don't like those insults. Issuing commands or orders to stay in control. Issuing threats on themselves or you or your loved ones. Outbursts of anger or aggression. Refusing to admit to any abusive or angry behavior. Trivializing, invalidating, or minimizing you and your experiences. Undermining your speech. Withholding communication or vulnerability, especially as punishment. Those are the different kinds of verbal abuse. Number 2, stand your ground. Everybody knows what this means, but I want to make clear, when I say stand your ground, I don't mean get ready for a fight. I don't mean that. It's not what I mean. Where you get your defensive stance like you're about to, like in a karate class. That's not what I mean by stand your ground. Verbal abuse can be a deliberate act of malice. It can also be something done accidentally, focusing on using it as a defense mechanism without any awareness of the damage it does to you. As such, what you want to do now is make the person in question aware that their actions are verbally abusive. However, it is essential to be realistic about holding such a conversation. Consider it is sporadic for verbal abuse to come from a place of complete and utter ignorance that can be solved in a single conversation. After the first conversation, you will have to point out instances of repeated verbal abuse to the person until they can detect it themselves. I'll probably try to skip some of these. Be clear, concise, and firm. Never engage with abusive content. Do not reason with the abuser. A verbal abuser cannot be reasoned with, ever. Do not waste your time attempting to explain to them what is wrong with what they are saying or why it is wrong, at least not yet. I've noticed that, the verbal abusers who I knew, they couldn't be reasoned with. They wouldn't stop. They want to be controlling. They want it their way or no way. Verbal abusers cannot be reasoned with. Know when to walk away. Very important. If you live with your abuser, that may be tough. You could go to another room in the house and shut the door. Don't lock yourself in the bathroom. That's something that could really, that won't bring about a lot of positive energy in your life. Number 3, be calm and know how to de-escalate. De-escalate. De-escalation is a handy and valuable skill to learn, whether you're learning it for a job in customer service or to better handle conflict in your everyday life in a more positive way. When you're face-to-face with an abuser, it becomes even more crucial. Here are some tips for staying calm and de-escalating a situation, according to licensed professional counselor Trudy Griffin. Understand the risks of violence. Okay? Now, if you're ever around a verbal abuser, there could be potential violence that happens. Don't let it happen to you, but understand and have this printed in your mind that if you're on the receiving end of verbal abuse from a verbal abuser, that person could become violent at any moment. Be careful. Be aware. Use positive body language. I'm learning this with you. I don't want you guys to think that I'm the expert on everything about life. I just want to share my experiences and bring about some positive energy to the rest of you. I've never used positive body language when I was on the receiving end of verbal abuse. Maybe I should give it a try. Sounds like it could be effective. Maybe. Let me know how the rest of you feel. Please, I want you to comment even while I'm talking here on the Facebook Live page. Tell me what you think, how you feel about all these things I'm saying. As far as using positive body language, it's natural to become tense when on the receiving end of abuse. Begin by breathing deeply to relax your posture and maintain a neutral expression slightly. Maintain non-threatening eye contact and keep a reasonable distance between you and them. Then move slowly, relax your muscles, stand at an angle to them, and do not approach them suddenly in any way. The goal is to avoid sending threatening nonverbal cues to the person in question. Speak calmly. I do that all the time. At one of my jobs, I'm a security guard. I end up talking with a lot of homeless people, and I'm required to tell them to leave the premises. Sometimes I meet some people who are not calm. I try to be as civilized as possible. Sometimes I try to get someone to calm down, but let me tell you a quick story. This happened to me last night. I saw two homeless people arguing last night, and I just heard some yelling, and I just looked over just to see what was going on. And I saw a man and a woman, and I saw the man grab the woman by both of her arms, and he was shaking her and yelling at her. That's all I saw. I couldn't understand what was being said. I was a little far away. But I just looked over, and I walked over, and I just asked, is everything all right here? And, it was basically a couple breaking up, and, it was happening right there where I saw it. And I tried to be as polite as I could to the woman after the guy left. I was nice to the woman, and, I listened to her even though, it's not my job to listen to people who are fighting tell me their problems in that shopping center. But I care. I really do. I'm the kind of guy where, I care about everybody. You've heard me say this in one of the previous videos. This was probably 2 or 3 videos ago. The one about caring about others. I see this happen all the time. A lot of people in the world don't care about one another. Because I don't care about this person because they're not related to me. This person is not my spouse. This person is not my friend. Therefore, I don't care for them. You see, that's what's wrong with the world. And I know I probably can never fix that, but I don't like that. So basically, you don't care about someone unless they're in your inner circle. Well, you should at least care about this other person to some extent. They're a child of God. They're a fellow human being. You may not know them. You may not like them. And you may never want to be their friend. But still, care to an extent. Just care to some degree. To some degree. If you keep saying, I don't care about these people because they're strangers, well then, what does that say about you? That makes you selfish. That means you're selfish if you constantly say, I don't care about this person or that person or these people or those people because I don't know them or because they're not one in my inner circle. Start caring. Start caring. It's so much more better. But by the time I was done talking to that woman, she said to me, you're very kind. I only spent maybe 5 or 10 minutes in her presence. I tried to just get her to calm down and move on. She was falling apart and she was in distress. But I just wanted to get her to calm down and bring some level of positive energy into her life. And I did. And that's what I am truly passionate about doing with the people around me, bringing positive energy into their lives. You need to respond to positive communication. Another good, effective thing. Here, I actually want to read this. If the abuser slips healthy questions or statements into their rants or raves, launch onto them and respond to them. Maintaining the calmness, engage with the more beneficial talking points that this person brings up. This shows them that you are willing to work out problems with them if they treat you with the respect you deserve. So in other words, treat people the way you want to be treated. That's the golden rule. Jesus said that in Matthew chapter 7, verse 12, and Luke 6:31. Do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. I've always lived by that. And I know that our elementary school teachers try to teach that to kids. I don't know if they're still doing it nowadays, but I heard that a lot in kindergarten, first and second grade. Do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Or just to sum it up, treat people the way you want to be treated. The golden rule. A lot of people in our public schools or even in the secular world don't realize that comes right from the lips of Jesus Christ. That's from the Bible. I heard that a lot in school, in public school, and I didn't realize until a few years ago that those words are quoted from the Bible. So, number 4, separate yourself. Separate yourself from the abuser. Set boundaries. Reduce time spent with them. Does anybody here want to spend time with a verbal abuser? No, probably. Yeah, I think we should reduce our time spent with verbal abusers. That way we can have more peaceful, positive energy in our lives. Set plans in motion. You need to be independent of your abuser in order to escape them. If possible, start planning to get what you need to lose that dependency. Search all avenues, talk to people you can trust about favors, and begin working behind the scenes with the goal of leaving. When it's time, cut them off clearly. The last thing we need in our lives is an abuser, whether that be verbal or any other kind. And finally, number 5, make sure others know about the abuse. Not good to keep it to yourself. I've always been the kind of person where I will talk to my loved ones about what's going on in my life. Talk about my problems. Talk is good. Talk is not cheap. Talk is good when you're talking to someone who truly cares for you. I want to get this off my chest. I always do that. I never keep things bottled up. I never clam up. I like to talk about things and get it off my chest, and I swear I feel so much better. Tell trusted friends, family, or loved ones. Yeah, it also says here, call a hotline. I've never done that before. I don't know if I would feel comfortable just, calling a hotline to talk about verbal abuser. I mean, you're talking to someone who doesn't even know you, who you don't even know, and telling them your problems. I mean, I don't think, well, if it works for you, I say do it. I wouldn't do that myself, obviously. Definitely talk to friends, family, loved ones. Or you could also see a therapist. So, yes. Final thoughts on some ways to deal with verbal abuse. You should never have to put up with verbal abuse. If you are a victim of verbal abuse that doesn't look like it will end, it's time to leave. Stay strong and remember that you deserve better treatment than this. You do deserve better. You certainly do. We all deserve better. There's some extra papers here. But yes, that's 5 ways to deal with verbal abuse. And for any of you out there, I know that, all of us, who are grown up, I've noticed very few people in this world grow up with a lot of positive energy. Very few do. Every single person who I meet, they all have a story about how somebody treated them badly while they were growing up, and they went through a lot of bad experiences and felt that not enough people cared about them. Yeah, I know what that's like. There are ways to experience positive energy, even during these tough times and what's going on in the world around us. You can still experience positive energy. I always like to hold Mr. Rogers very dear to my heart. He was the king of positive energy. He truly was. And he was certainly someone who cared about everybody, which is what I try to be myself. I really do care about everybody. I don't have time to listen to everybody's problems, but I do care. I really do. I care about each and every one of you. I also want to point out I put it on the Facebook page. I have an email address called catholicpositiveenergy@gmail.com. You can feel free to email me there. You can email me through the Facebook page if you like, but catholicpositiveenergy@gmail.com. Feel free to get in touch with me if you like, if you have questions, comments, suggestions, criticisms, positive, healthy, civilized criticisms. Remember, dignification is better than criticism. So feel free to get in touch with me. And please, I want to also point out, again, we have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe there, and please tell your friends about it. So there you have it, 5 ways to deal with verbal abuse. So I'm very glad, like I said, this has not been the best year ever, but this is the year that I started Catholic Positive Energy, and I'm glad to have a wonderful, huge following here. It's nice to have each and every one of you here. I'm truly grateful, to have 200 plus people in the page and the group, 11 YouTube subscribers. Very grateful for all of that. So right now, while I'm on break from grad school until January 11th, I think what I'll try to do for these next couple of Mondays, I'm not going to pray with you guys because I have some free time in my life. I want to come to you with more topics because when school starts again, I'm not going to have time to even search for topics. I'm just going to be speaking from the heart and praying with you. So I want to be able to talk about topics. So I'll have a topic next week, and it'll certainly bring positive energy into your lives. Feel free to email me at the email address I provided. It's also on the Facebook page. So nice to spend all this time with all of you. Got another viewer here. Gail, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Nice to see you, Gail. Thank you for being here. So I definitely hope that you've all enjoyed this. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And if there are people out there who do not celebrate Christmas, I hope you enjoy these wonderful holidays anyway. And, this is the time when Jesus Christ was born. That's what Christmas is truly all about, So definitely hope you're able to spend time with some people you love and still enjoy the holidays anyway, even though we can't really see people in person. But definitely enjoy this time because life is not all that bad. You've heard people say, "Oh, life sucks, deal with it." I don't believe that at all. Life doesn't suck. It can if you look at it that way. If you live by that saying, life does not suck. Life is wonderful. Life is truly wonderful. You just need to have a positive brain in your head with positive energy. You need to look at everything and see the wonderful things about it. Even if it looks like there's nothing wonderful to see, if it's someone in your life who drags you down or makes you unhappy, there are still some good things in life. Maybe not in that person, but in life, there are some good things. So you've all truly made this a special day by just your being you. Imitating Mr. Rogers. But I certainly hope you all have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you for being here in Catholic Positive Energy. And please do me a favor. Say some nice positive words to someone in your life who needs to hear them. Merry Christmas. God bless.